Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this month's Teach Educational Rounds. If you want to move closer. Today's title is called Smokers Helpline, Programs and Tools that Strengthen Your Tobacco Interventions. I'm just going to fix the webcam because it's a little dark. There we go.
Good.
Okay, so here with me today is our presenter, Monica Bennett from Smokers Helpline. So before we begin, I will just go over a few housekeeping slides. So if you are interested in obtaining a letter of completion for this Teach Educational Round, please make sure that you have registered for the webinar and completed the pre-learning assessment. Second, make sure that you've signed in to view the webinar using your first and last name. That way I can track your attendance. And finally, once you've done all that, I will be sending out a link to complete the evaluation and post-learning assessment, and you'll have 1 week to do that, and then you'll get your letter of completion. So just remember that these webinars are being live tweeted on Twitter. So follow CAMH Nicotine Dependence Service at PS Quit Smoking. And if you do have Twitter and you want to post your questions or comments, you can follow the hashtag #TeachWebinar. So here's our bio for our presenter, Monica Bennett. Monica Bennett has over 10 years of experience in tobacco control as a key resource for healthcare cessation partners. A successful counselor, trainer, and manager, she has developed facilitation and training resources that have reached hundreds of people. She has another 20 years of rich experience in the not-for-profit sector, focusing on volunteer and community development, sexual health and sexuality education, gender justice, and AIDS and HIV education. And her disclosures, the Canadian Cancer Society runs the First Week Challenge Contest, Quit Contest, that is sponsored by McNeil Consumer Healthcare, a division of Johnson & Johnson. And here are our disclosures. The Teach curriculum and slides were developed and compiled with funding from the Government of Ontario, Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. Content of slides are primarily based on evidence-based guidelines from the following sources. These materials, as well as the verbal presentation and any discussions, set out only general principles and approaches to assessment and do not replace the need for individualized clinical assessment and treatment plans. So before we begin, I'm just going to do a few polling questions just to gauge who has attended today. So in a second, using your computer, if you could please indicate what your current discipline is. You may need to scroll down, and if your discipline is not listed, feel free to type it into the chat box for us. Okay. So from the looks of it, it looks like most of us today are registered nurses. Okay. And again, using your computer, please indicate if you work for any of the following. And again, if it's not there, you can just type it into the chat box. And from the looks of it, most of you are joining from public health units. Awesome. And finally, please indicate which region your organization serves. Okay, numbers are fluctuating a bit. Most of you, I guess, are from Toronto and Greater Toronto, but I also do see a lot of Southwest area and out of province. Cool. Manitoba, okay, awesome. So that's really nice to see that people not only from Ontario but outside of Ontario are joining us today too. Okay, so with that, I'm going to thank you all again for joining, and I'm going to hand it off to our presenter, Monica Bennett. So, it's all yours.
Thank you, Shalisa. And hello, everyone. Lovely to see you all today. Well, you can see me. I can't see you, but still lovely to be here. So I'm going to start by telling you about, I hope, what some of you already know a bit about, and that is Smokers Helpline. hopefully you're here to learn a little bit more. So Smokers Helpline is, as you know, is there to help all sorts of folks, people who are thinking about quitting, who've already quit, who want some help with helping someone they love, or whatever stage they're at. Smokers Helpline can help them succeed. And because everyone's needs are unique, we help them in all kinds of different ways. 4 ways in particular. The icons you see there, the old school telephone, tells you that we offer service over the phone at that number that you see on the screen. The service is offered in English and French, and we also offer it in 100 other languages through an interpreter. The next symbol you see there is online. We have a self-directed program available 24/7. Our texting messaging service is also available in English and French, and only available in Ontario for you folks from BC and from Manitoba, I see. And we also have tools and resources. That last icon, they're printed, they're downloadable, there's planning exercises online, and for healthcare professionals in particular, we have lots of other resources, and I'll be addressing those later on. But whichever way anyone chooses to access our services, because you can use all 4 at once, or you can do it in a way that mixes and matches to suit your needs. It's accessible by anyone who's looking for information about tobacco use. Yeah. Next you'll see the values and the features that underpin the service that we provide. So at the center of it, of course, are our clients. That's what's most important. That's why we're here. And one of the values and one of the features that we have is that we are an evidence-based program. Not only do we offer information, advice, and support and referrals, but the ones that which we do offer are those that we know to be scientifically proven to be effective. So though you and I all know folks who quit smoking in all kinds of different ways, including maybe some unorthodox ways, what we refer to, of course, if it works for them, we're quite happy that they're stopped using tobacco, and if it works for them, that's great, but we don't refer them to any services that are not evidence-based. The service is very personalized, and of course that's important because everyone's story and the way that every individual uses tobacco is really unique to that person, and so our services emphasize that personalized support because it reflects each person's unique needs. There's lots of ways to connect, the ones that I just talked to you about, phone, online, texting, other resources. And you can access us in whatever way works for you. You can do it one-on-one, you can do it by self-help. Some people just like to do it all by themselves, self-help, and other ways is through community. So the online community is the way that works for them. Of course, our services are all free of charge, and very importantly, all our services are non-judgmental. We know how tenacious and how complex nicotine addiction is, and so we know that the tobacco industry also, we know that they do everything in their power, including their lobbying and their deep pockets that they try and use to get tobacco users to stay using their product, to keep them hooked. So we know, given all that, we know there's no place for judgment in this, and it's not helpful, it's not accurate, it's not in any way important. So we really like to support folks where they're at. So you can reach a Quit Coach 7 days a week. Our services are open. This is the Eastern Standard Time, Monday to Thursday, 8 in the morning till 9 at night, Fridays 8 to 6, and weekends 9 to 5. And we, of course, again, available in French and English. And what I didn't mention is that interpreter service available in 100 languages. 17 of those languages are Indigenous languages, and so we're happy to support our Indigenous brothers and sisters. We offer a proactive service, so we really are working around their schedule, and what that means is that we offer them the opportunity to talk to us again. So we'll call them back when they're ready, and if they say yes, then we work around their schedule in any of those time slots. Your role as a healthcare provider and how you fit into Smokers Helpline means that you're the one who is saving a life, and I literally mean saving a life. You can do it in 3 minutes. What we suggest, and many of you are already familiar with this, we know that you need to ask. Ask your patients, your clients, ask and document about their tobacco use at every contact you have with them. And we suggest that you ask have you used any form of tobacco in the last 30 days? Of course, you're going to use the language that's comfortable for you and for your patients. But in particular, we say any form of tobacco because we know not every tobacco user is a smoker. They use chew tobacco, bidis, shisha, all kinds of pipes. Pipe smokers don't think of themselves as smokers, right? So we're asking any form of tobacco. And we ask about the last 30 days because those 30 days, even if they've quit, that's a vulnerable time for them, and so we want to offer them support that can be useful in that time period. And importantly, you want to document that in their charts because you want to make sure that you're keeping it on record and that you're going to keep asking them until they say stop asking or until they've got the support that they need. Your next question is to advise them. You're going to advise them on the importance of quitting. So advising is important because you as a healthcare professional or as a social worker or whatever role you're playing with tobacco users, you have their trust. You have some authority. They want to hear from you. Most tobacco users want to quit, and they're coming to you, maybe not because they specifically wanted to ask you about tobacco use today, but they expect to hear from you. And so it's okay to ask them. You can say to them, the most important advice I can give you is to quit smoking, and I can help. That's the important piece. You can help. And you want to make that advice relevant to them, personally relevant to them, because they have yet another bronchial infection or because it's their birthday and they're thinking about what's going on in their life and they want to make something important happen on this milestone birthday. So you want to make that advice relevant to them, and then you're going to offer your help. And the help that you can offer, of course, is to refer them directly to Smokers Helpline. You, of course, are going to offer other things, but we're talking about Smokers Helpline today, so I get to talk about Smokers Helpline. And of course, what we do works in tandem with what you do, and vice versa. And they can use your services, they can use our services, as many as they need and want in order to get where they want to go. When you're referring directly to us, we ask that you provide a little bit of information and some resources about us so they know what to expect, and then send them to us. And to do that, the easiest you can do it all sorts of ways. You could say, call the number on your cigarette pack, because that'll take them directly to Smokers Helpline, or you could hand them one of our resources. But it works much better if you make that direct referral using this fax referral form. And this form is used, as you see, it's called Quick Connection. It's available on our website. It's also going to be available to you after it's going to be available for download in this webcast. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how it works. So you fax this to them, or pardon me, you fill it out, your part, they fill out their part, then you fax it to us. And when you're filling it out, importantly, it may sound silly, but really we need your information. That blank square that you see there is a place that you can use your stamp from your office or your department, or wherever, depends on if you have one and where you're working. If you don't have that, then we'll ask you to fill in your information, including your name and telephone number. We're not keeping stats on this. What we do need is a way to contact you in case we cannot read your writing, is the truth of it. If for whatever reason we can't read the writing, or if there's a piece of information missing, then we'll call you back and ask you to fill in the blanks for us. So your information is important. Of course, we need their name and, of course, their phone number. We'd like to know when's a better time to call them, morning, afternoon, evening, anytime, whatever works for them. And very importantly, we need to know if it's okay for us to leave a message. What we find is that it's the folks who have not indicated on our forms whether or not we can leave a message. Those are the folks we often lose, because if we can't leave a message saying Smokers Helpline called, they think that we have not called indeed, right? And so then we can't call them back, or we can't get them to call us back. So that's an important piece. And we also, the informed consent means that they are saying, yes, I understand that you're providing this information to us at Smokers Helpline for the purposes of quitting smoking. Get them to sign it, date it, fax it to us, and within a few business days, we will get back to them. We'll try 2 to 3 times to reach them in that time period, depending on our call volume, depending on how many people are on working that week, etc. But we do actually get back to everybody. And when you do get back to us, this is what they can expect. they'll talk to a quit coach. I don't have any pictures here for you, but I can see them in my mind's eye. Our quit coaches, they're great people. I'm a little biased, but they are great folks. They'll get to talk to a quit coach on a time of day that works for them. They're going to get that personalized quit plan that I talked about. Like when do you need the cigarette the most, and how can we help you with that particular one? What are some of the tried and true methods of getting through slips and relapses, and indeed finding out from them what they have done in the past. Most smokers have to quit a few times before they're successful, and so we use that information with that person to help them figure out what's going to work best for them this time. We, if they don't already know, or we can also help them figure out how to get through those cravings and those withdrawal symptoms. We're happy to help them with that. We're going to offer them our self-help booklets, which you're going to see a picture of in a little bit. You can find them online, and you can order them yourself, which I'll tell you about in a bit. And importantly, we're going to give them access to other resources in the community. We operate a database of cessation services in Ontario, sorry, BC and Manitoba, and anybody else who's on there. But we know what's happening in their community, and so we can tell them what else is available besides us and besides you. And again, our interpreter service, which we're quite proud of. The other thing that we can offer them, and you can offer them, is our online program at smokershelpline.ca. So there's lots of ways to go about doing it. There's a self-directed online quit program where you can learn about, where you get to walk yourself through your behaviors and looking at different strategies that will help you quit for good, or quit for this time if this is not going to be the one that's going to last forever, and that's okay. There's also a great community of support. It's full of people who are smoking, people who are former smokers, and our Smokers Helpline staff who are there to moderate in those cases where a question is asked and no one has the answers. So then our Smokers Helpline staff will step up and provide some support and information there. Also importantly, there's other features. So discussion forums where there's all kinds of back and forth, like people say in the self-help community, there's nothing like being there. It's nothing like talking to someone who's been there, who's going through the same thing at the same time, and the same is true for tobacco users. So people will say, are quit coaches former smokers themselves? Because some people will say, that's not, like if you never smoked, you don't really know what it's like. And of course, there's some truth in that. And in fact, some of our quit coaches used to smoke. None of them do at this point, but we know that, you don't have to have had a baby to help someone have a baby, right, to deliver a child. But we also know that we have tools and expertise and training to help someone walk them through that process. But if they really need to talk to someone who's been there, done that, then the online community is there for them. There's also a quit meter. People find that really motivating. So you plug in your information. It keeps track for you on a daily basis how many days you have not smoked, how many cigarettes you have not smoked, how much money you have saved. It's great to keep you going. It just shows you how well you're doing at this. You can also sign up for motivational emails. So we'll send you emails on a regular basis that have quit tips and tools. And there's also not just tips and tools, but like encouragement and motivation, because sometimes if you're really addicted and have tried a number of times, you have to really dig deep to be able to do this on your own, and so that motivation is really quite helpful. And there's other downloads that I also, and other resources as well that I talked about. There's a screenshot of what you can expect to see when you go to smokershelpline.ca. What's not on there, that's an older piece, because one of the first things you see up there above the online quit program is a place where you click on it to link to our first week challenge contest, which I'll talk about in a bit. So you can start by going there. This is a screenshot of what our forums look like. So it gives you a sense of what's there. So there's a place when people are brand new. You can talk, like when you're just starting, you want to figure out how to do this. You can go and you don't actually necessarily have to chat. You might just want to listen and learn and read on your own, but you're welcome to go and read all about it there. Or people who are struggling, trying to figure out what to do with their slips, their relapses, how they're going to move forward. some information about all the different quitting methods that there are, including medications and others. There's also a place to share your stories and your quit dates. The daily pledges, quotes, and celebrations are a fun place to go because then you get to see from other people how they're doing it and why they're doing it. We have folks who come back like months, years later to say, I'm 2 years smoke-free, I'm so proud, I'm so happy, you can do it. It's that kind of encouraging environment. I remember when I first started working at Smokers Helpline, sometimes I would honestly go to this place to go and look just to get motivation about it, because it's really it's the kind of community, how community should be, how encouraging and supportive. It's just a really uplifting kind of place to go. And then also information, general information and discussion and how to keep distracted if that's what you're actually needing. Next is our texting program. We're really happy about this. It used to be that it was a little bit more complicated than it is now to participate in our texting program, but what you'll see here is that you just have to text the word I quit, I-Q-U-I-T, to, I don't know how we got this number. It's so easy. We're so lucky. Text to 123456. So that means that the number you are texting to, the phone number is 123456, and the message that you're texting is I quit. You do that, and you'll get text support for up to 13 weeks. It's available in both English and French, and it, like our online service, like our phone service, of course, is evidence-based. There's a choice of scheduling. If you want to receive your messages at a certain time of day, you can certainly do that. You get to try that, and then you get to text back. You can ask for more support if you need to. So if you text in the keywords craving, stress, alcohol, slip, or edgy, those are the words that you would text in, and then you get a message specifically about that. So if you want, I would really encourage you to do that with your clients in particular, like directly with your clients. You're seeing them. If they're not really interested, and if you can't get them to say yes to getting a direct referral to us, then encourage them to just whip out their cell phone right there, walk them through it, and they'll be hooked up right away. There's no obligation. There's no anything about it. And you will have an opportunity to sign up online if you choose to, but there's no obligation to do so. And unfortunately, we don't have a way of promoting this with like hands-on, tangible things that I can give you that you can say, here, take this, and sign up for the texting program, which is why I'm asking you to do it yourself. And indeed, we encourage you to do it right now if you want to. No, you should be listening to me. When this is over, you can pull out your cell phone and text I quit to 123456. Try it yourself and see what you think of it and see how it works, and then you'll be better able to recommend it to your patients. There's a picture of our One Step at a Time materials, and one is for smokers who want to quit. It's the thicker of them, as you might imagine. For smokers who don't want to quit, people get caught by that. They're like, really? I had no idea, right? And that just gets them to like think about it. It's very non-judgmental and gentle. People like to get that one. And for folks who have friends or family who are smokers and they don't know what to do, it can be hard to watch somebody because, of course, we all know how awful tobacco use is. And so we think, well, how come? Like, don't you know how bad this is for you? Well, if it was all about what was up here, it wouldn't be so hard. And so, so that's part of what is explained in this booklet, how you can best support your friends, your family. And as the URL says there, you can go to cancer.ca/one-step-at-a-time. And because cancer.ca, because of course what I failed to mention is that Smokers Helpline is a service of the Cancer Society, and so you can get it on the cancer.ca website. You can also get it at smokershelpline.ca. So again, a screenshot, except this one is for you. See at the bottom, that red square that you see there, it says for healthcare providers. So if you click on there, it'll take you to a page that is specifically for healthcare providers. What this screenshot does not show you is a tab up at the top on the left-hand side, sort of over there somewhere. There is a tab that says healthcare providers, and you can also go there. And when you go there, there's a whole section on there Encourage you, of course, to explore our entire website, but including this section so you can see what else is there for you. And if you know more about it, again, more likely you are to encourage your patients to go to us. So you can order materials for you. I'm going to have a screenshot or a shot of what that order form looks like for you, and you will be receiving one with this webinar, a link to it. You go to smokershelpline.ca/refer and Smokers Helpline materials, and you can from there you will be able to order those materials and a number of other materials that will be of use to you and to your clients. So go to Smokers Helpline and download that form, fax it off to us, and you'll receive all of our materials free of charge within 5 to 7 days, 5 to 10 days. 5 to 10 business days, usually faster than that, but that's what we're saying. There's also a great resource for healthcare providers and others called You Can Make It Happen. It was and I'll show you a screenshot of that in a bit. And again, our community services locator. When I talked before about how we have a database of services that are for smokers in Ontario, it's in conjunction with the Cancer Society, and so you can also access it through there, through our website and through cancer.ca as well. So there's a picture of our materials order form, and it's available for you to download. And not perfectly legible there, but you can see, of course, that it's in French and English, and on the back of that form are other materials, including how to reach Smokers Helpline. There's a map of Ontario that I'm sure you recognize. There are regional coordinators across the province. And for those of you in tobacco control in Ontario, recognize those areas as TCANs, Tobacco Control Area Networks. There is a Smokers Helpline representative in each of those areas who's able to serve you, who can help you figure out how they can support you and your organization in working with tobacco users. And so I will tell you though that so you'll see 7 TCANs, and 4 of us, unfortunately, because of all kinds of things, because of ministry decisions and funding, we're seeing that, and directions that are different from the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. Some decisions have been made, and so soon there will only be 3 of us, and those folks are going to be serving the whole province. And I know all 7 of these people. They are amazing folks to work with. I encourage you to keep in touch with them. We have done some great work over the years, and these folks will continue to do so. So I encourage you to talk to them, and their names will be on the back of that materials order form. This is the You Can Make It Happen site that I encourage you to go to. This site it was a project of the TCANs here in Ontario, but of course it's on the net, so it's available to everybody. You'll see over here the 5As. I encourage you to check that out. That's, of course, I just gave you the 3 of the 5As. It talks about all of the 5As if you have an opportunity to do intensive interventions. And if you have a specific practice setting, if you are a dental worker, if you work in a hospital, if you work in all kinds of different settings, there'll be information specific to your setting. In the all healthcare settings, it's more generic materials and it's sort of back and forth. Some of them will be useful to anyone, and some of them will be useful to only very specific folks. Information about medications and how to contact. There's all kinds of resources in there, including Smokers Helpline materials, and how to get more assistance through your local public health units and through us. So there, I wanted to give you a screenshot of what it looks like when you go to our community service locator on our website. So as it says, you put in your postal code right here, press search, and up will pop all kinds of information on there about what's available in that community. And I encourage you to go there to see if you are on there. So if you are an organization that provides tobacco interventions and you are not on this database, I encourage you to contact us so that you can be included, so that we can better serve all the tobacco users across this province. In particular, we know that there are family health teams, CHCs, community health centers, Stop for AA sites who offer free NRT. and you're not necessarily included on this database, it would make it a lot easier for folks to reach you and to get service if you were on this thing, on this database. We encourage you to please contact us for that. And here's the First Week Challenge. Some of you may or may not know about this. First Week Challenge is a monthly marketing campaign run by us. What happens is that, it's designed to increase quit attempts. We know that the more attempts you make, the more likely you are to be successful. And so what this contest asks you to do is to quit smoking for the first 7 days of any month. And when you register, you have the opportunity to win one of two $500 prizes. That's really motivating for lots of people. Some of you may remember our Driven to Quit challenge, where people were asked to register, quit smoking for the month of March, they could win a car. It was once a year. People loved it, but it was only once a year. And so this way we're able to offer more motivation to quit every month of the year. So the online registration is really quick. Some basic questions, mainly to ensure that folks are eligible and that we are able to contact them if they win. We also ask them some opt-in questions to ask them if they would like additional services from us, including a phone call, or if they want text messaging. And there's also, or if they want to go onto the online community, there's information there. What we do know is that our results at 6 months are showing that 42% of respondents reported having been at least 30 days smoke-free. So that's after 6 months of data, which is pretty darn good, 42%. 86% would recommend the First Week Challenge to a friend wanting similar support, and 85% felt that First Week Challenge contest was somewhat or very important in encouraging their quit attempt. So would they recommend it to a friend? Yes. Which I would say is one of the best motivators there is for folks. So we do have materials for you. You can order them using that order form that I referred to. And they're tear-off pads, little 3x5 tear-off pads. You can just hand it to someone and they can go to firstweekchallengecontest.ca. Really simple from there. And that's it for, that's how you contact us online, on the phone. And the last slide is to ask, before we wash away, if you have any questions. And Lisa's coming in. She's going to help us figure out how many questions we have. For the First Week Challenge, do we provide the free NRT? We do not provide free NRT, but that it's sponsored by Johnson & Johnson, and so they're available to, they can get free NRT to help them in their quit. Do we have a poster? We do not have a poster. We just have the tear-off pads. We have things that we could probably get to use if you want to print them off yourselves. Someone here is saying they really like the tear-off sheet. If a person remains smoke-free, can they continue to be entered for the First Week Challenge prize? You can enter if you have not been chosen, if you didn't happen to win that month. Well, of course you're a winner because you quit smoking. But if you did not win the $500 that month, you can again register for the following month. You can register for three times in a row. And can I leave it to you, Shazila, for the rest of the questions?
Yeah, so what I can do is I can just read off the questions and then you can answer them. I did also notice during your presentation there were some questions being asked, so I jotted those down.
Super.
Yeah, so I do see that Sabrina had a question regarding calls about vaping. Do you have any take on that?
Vaping. We get lots of calls about vaping. Of course, as you well know, there is the evidence about vaping, about e-cigarette use is not in. We don't know if it works, if it's an evidence-based tool or not. We hear stories from people who say, yes, this is the thing, and then of course others who we hear anecdotally, of course, will say it worked for a little while, and then I went back to smoking, which is probably more like what we know the rest of quitting tobacco is like. They go back and forth, back and forth. We do not recommend it as a smoking cessation aid because we don't have the evidence on that. But on the other hand, we can't tell someone not to use it because it's not. It may indeed work for them. We'll of course reinforce the behavioral things around it, because the same thing holds true for vaping as does for tobacco use. There's still the behavior. You may still be getting the nicotine. You may still be weaning yourself off the nicotine, but there's still the behavioral pieces and the triggers and the environmental things that you have to take into consideration if you're going to use that method.
Right. Thank you. And then I did notice that someone above had asked about specific methods for calls. So is there like a specific guideline that you follow? And then also, if someone calls and then calls again, will they get the same person, or is it a new person each time? Like, what's the...
Great questions, yeah. Well, unfortunately, we cannot guarantee you're going to get the same person because we have like thousands of calls a year, and we're serving a number of provinces across the country, and so we can't guarantee that you're going to get to talk to the same person every time. But of course, when you do talk to someone, they're taking notes, and so those notes will be passed on to the next, get recorded and are held securely and confidentially, so the next quit coach would have access to the information, and so you don't have to tell your story over and over again every time you're there. The other part of that question is, do they have there are protocols, of course, like there are certain things that, like a quit coach will have access to information, so if they don't already know it off the top of their head, which many of them do because they've been doing this for a long time, but if they don't, then there's support for them, because we have a software program that they help walk them through that. But there are protocols for certain situations and certain ways of dealing with different things.
Perfect. I do also see that someone from Smoker's Helpline is online answering questions, so that's actually very helpful. I'm just going to scroll up because I did see some at the beginning here too. Yeah. So just going back to that referral form. So some people are asking, is it possible for them to fill out the form and just have the client sign it, or is it something?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
That you can absolutely do that. That's probably the easier way to do it. And what we know is that some people, what some organizations are doing is they're offering as an opt-out. They'll say, as part of your treatment plan, the best thing I can do is to offer you a referral to Smokers Helpline. So so in order to do that, we have this form that you can sign up. And so they just sign, and they say, of course, because of course they trust you, they know you, and so they'll sign the form and then send it off to us. Of course, people can stop receiving our calls anytime they choose to.
Right.
Not very many people choose not to because they're pretty darn awesome. There's another piece that's not included in these slides, and that is our fax referral program. So if you're from an organization that wants to integrate fax referral into your organization so that all health disciplines and all departments are using it, we have a way of doing that as well. We customize that form for you, and then you receive aggregate data about who's being referred to us and who is doing the referring. And that's really great information for evaluating your tobacco control program.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let's see. So then back to I guess they answered those questions. So someone was asking about the first week challenge and registering for up to 3 months in a row for the first week challenge. Is there a limit for the year? And how do they restart their eligibility to re-enter?
So 3 times in a year, you're allowed to do that, and then after that, like the clock ticks over and you start again.
Yeah. Okay. So if I've missed some of the questions that were mentioned above, feel free to just type them into the chat box. I also got an email about another question.
Someone was asking what the average age of the caller, and I just had that information. Oh, there you go, approximately 48.
Yeah, so
some folks don't read.
Yeah, so someone asked a question, what is the average age of the person calling your quit line? And the answer for that is approximately 48.
It's very average, yeah. We have, our service was designed and developed for adults. We don't promote to youth, but we will certainly accept calls from anyone, including youth. And we do serve some youth, not very many.
Do you want to elaborate that? Because I actually had an email about resources for youth. Do you guys offer any resources for youth specifically, or?
Well, as I said, they're welcome to call us, and we'll certainly take them through our service. We also offer on that order form, there are resources from Leave the Pack Behind here in Ontario, and so if you're from Ontario, you can order those. What will happen is that we're no longer shipping those out, but we will share your information with Leave the Pack Behind, who will then send them to you, and so those resources are for youth and young adults.
Awesome. Okay. And then I just see Leanne had asked, what is it like for a family member or friend to call in for support?
It can be frustrating, I think, for not because we're frustrating, but because it's frustrating to be with someone who is smoking and you want to help and can't. And so what we do is we walk them through the process. We tell them probably if they're interested about what nicotine addiction is like, what they can expect, knowing that probably what the smoker in their life is doing is perfectly normal, and that it really is helpful just to be supportive and then offer them ways that they can be supportive.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, I don't see any questions here. So if you do have any more questions, feel free to type them in. I'm sorry if I missed any of your questions above. There were a lot. Is there a poster for the first week challenge contest?
No, as I said, we don't have a poster, but we do have digital assets that you're welcome to print yourself. So just get in contact with us and we'll go from there.
Okay. And then I saw a lot of people asking just regarding other provinces, so just across Canada, not only in Ontario. What are your services like for that? So I know someone mentioned the BC Quit line for British Columbia, but do you have anything else to say about other provinces and how you can help them?
Well, Smokers Helpline is offered in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, the Yukon, PEI, New Brunswick, so that's who we cover.
Right.
And then all the other provinces have their own separate quit lines. Jadette is in Quebec. It's also offered by Canadian Cancer Society, but it's a separate call center. And the other folks offer, their services are, just as good. I'm assuming, I haven't called them. So I don't actually know, but I'm assuming they're just as good as ours. And in fact, if you call that 1-800 number that's on a pack of cigarettes, depending on where you're calling from in the country, your call will be triaged to the right province.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So Maureen asks, will the slide deck be available? So this webinar is being live recorded. That recording will go out this afternoon to anyone who's attended and will also be available on our Teach website next week. And the slide deck I can also include in the email that I send out today. So it's about 12:45. We have 15 minutes left for the webinar, but for questions. So if you do have any more questions, you can ask them now, but if not, then you may just end a little bit early. So feel free to type any more questions in, but if not, then so multiple TNTs for typing. And I do see people are typing in some resources, so that's really helpful too. For the Inuit Government of Nunavut has a website.
Thank you.
24-hour quit line. Yeah, and then for youth, refer to the Facebook page, Tobacco Has No Place Here. Oh, awesome. Thank you. So it looks like most people are saying thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Okay,
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Monica, for coming in. It was really informative. I think that everyone will agree with that. And thank you all for attending today. So before you go, please let me just do the housekeeping slides. So remember that a link to the evaluation and post-learning assessment will be sent by email today by 4 p.m. And then you'll have 1 week to complete the post-learning assessment, and you'll receive your letter of completion. If you participated as a group, please make sure that you email teach@camh.ca with the complete names of participants that attended by 2 p.m. today. As well, if you just logged in using your first name, please email me with your first and last name so that I can track your attendance, because some people have the same name and I won't be able to tell. And if you're interested, our next Teach educational rounds will be held on Wednesday, August 23rd from 12 to 1 p.m. with Dr. Peter Selby. And that's going to be on increasing the likelihood of quit success, integrating a mood intervention into smoking cessation programming. So if you missed the beginning of today's presentation, you want to view it again, or you're interested in seeing previous Teach webinars, don't worry. We have the archived webinars on our website, which is linked at the bottom there. And with that, thank you so much, and hopefully we can see you next month for our next Teach webinar. And thank you again, Monica.
Thank you, Shazia.
Okay, and have a good afternoon then.